Hello, Trinity Academy. This continues our 2-minute mystery series. This one's from Encyclopedia Brown and the Case of the Tennis Racket. John Stanley, Idaville's best young tennis player, came into the Brown Detective Agency, smiling on one side of his face. "I've got good news and bad news," he said. "The good news, I just opened a can of tennis balls. They're number 8s. He explained. A can held 3 balls, and balls from the same can bore the same number, like 2 or 6 or 8 in the manufacturer's name. "And 8 is my lucky number," said John. "I've never lost a match playing with number 8 balls." "And the bad news," said Encyclopedia. "At 2 o'clock, I have to pay Ike Quilp in the semifinals of the County Club Championships. Ike Quilp is the kid brother of Rowdy Quilp, one of Bugs, Meanies, Tigers." In the Encyclopedia Brown series, one of the groups that tends to do wrong at a kid level is a guy named Bugs Meanies, and he has a group of boys called the Tigers, and they often find themselves in mischief. So John gave a quarter to Encyclopedia. "I want to hire you to keep an eye on things. It's not nice to speak bad of anyone, even tigers, but—" "Don't apologize," said Sally. "The only way the tigers can hear anything good about themselves is to talk to each other." So the 3 children biked off to the country club. John carried 2 tennis rackets, a towel, and the can of balls in his handlebar basket. At the club, he took out the rackets, the towel, and the balls, but left the empty can behind. "It's bad luck to take the can along," he said. "Last year, the only match I lost was when I brought a can to the court." The tournament officials had set up a long table outside the shop, and boys and girls were lined up in front of it to report in. "I have to go sign in," said John. "See you in a while." The detectives wandered around waiting as John enrolled. "There's Fremont Smith with Bugs Meany," said Sally. Fremont was 13 and lived on Sally's block. He spied the detectives and walked over to them. "Are you a tennis fan?" asked Encyclopedia. "Hardly," replied Fremont. "I can't even tell a racket from a rolling pin. But Bugs Meany wants me to join his service club, the Tigers." "Service club?" gasped Silly. "Of course," protested Fremont. "Bugs said the Tigers do a lot of good deeds, and today they're helping out as judges, so I came here to see for myself." Before Sally could answer Fremont, John came running up. "Somebody stole one of my rackets and my tennis balls," he cried. When he caught his breath, he told what happened. "Before I got in line to report to the officials, I put my towel, tennis balls, and both rackets on a counter in the pro shop. The balls and my lighter weight racket were gone when I returned. I don't mind so much losing the balls, but the racket is the one I wanted to use today. These courts are hard and fast, and with a light racket, I can take a quicker backswing." "Whoever knew enough to steal your light racket must know a lot about tennis," said Encyclopedia. "Using my heavy racket on these fast courts means I'll have to change my timing," said John. "Ike Quilp might beat me." "We've got to find your racket," said Sally. "Where to look for it?" Encyclopedia said, "Let's start in the pro shop. All kinds of sporting goods are sold there. The thief wouldn't draw attention to himself by having a racket and balls." "Ike Quilp has a great net game," said John. "If he beats me, you can blame those tigers." "That's not fair," said Fremont. "The tigers are all honest. Bugs Meany said so." "Well, let's go find out," said Encyclopedia. The pro shop was crowded. In one corner, Encyclopedia saw a steel basket filled with tennis balls. "What's that?" he asked John. "The tennis teacher uses those balls when he gives lessons," John answered. "He stores them there when it rains or when all the courts are taken for a tournament, like today." "I think your new tennis balls might have been hidden among them," said the boy detective. "Fremont, would you look? They're brand new number 8s. And they had the manufacturer's name, Wilkins, printed above the number. While Fremont dug into the basket of practice balls, Encyclopedia found the missing tennis racket. It was hanging on a wall behind 4 other rackets that needed new strings. Suddenly, Fremont held up 3 balls with the word Wilkins and the number 8 printed on them. "Here, this must be them." "Those 2 might be mine," said John, "but the 3rd ball is too old. Mine were never used." Fremont looked disappointed and continued hunting. "Fremont could be the thief," Sally whispered to Encyclopedia. "Bugs Meany gives every boy who wants to become a tiger some sort of test of dishonesty." "Maybe John hid the racket and balls himself," said Sally. "Then he'd have an excuse if he lost to Ike Quilp. I just don't know. Was it Fremont? Was it John? Or someone else?" Encyclopedia said, "If you stop and think, you'll know who it was." And I don't know who all is watching these videos, but I've heard that the Ashley family is watching these. And so I wonder if, especially since tennis, swimming is done, but I think tennis perhaps as well, I wonder if you can see what the mistake was made by one of the people. So press pause, all of you, and see if you can find the answer or the solution to the case of the tennis racket. If you're still figuring it out and you haven't pressed pause, here comes the answer. The guilty boy was Fremont, who earlier said he knew nothing about tennis, so no one would suspect him of knowing which was the better racket to steal. And he deliberately picked out a ball that clearly was not new in order to try to confuse everyone. But that was his mistake. He picked out 3 balls. And if he knew nothing about tennis, he would not know that 3 came in a can. All the time they talked in front of Fremont, they just talked about a can of balls being stolen or that the balls were missing, and they never said 3. So how did he know to find 3 balls? 2 that looked new and even an old one. Fremont eventually confessed. The theft had been a test to prove himself fit to be a Tiger. And by the way, John won the tennis match.